The group chat notification pinged at 2:17 a.m. while I was debugging code in my home office. My wife Jennifer's phone, charging on the kitchen counter, lit up like a Christmas tree. She'd been getting messages all evening from her family, but this was different. The screen showed a group called Operation Freedom with 12 active participants. I'm Cedric Fallon, 38 years old, and I make decent money as a tech consultant in suburban Boston. My specialty is finding security vulnerabilities in corporate systems, which means I notice things other people miss, like how my wife of 8 years had been acting strange for the past 3 months, like how her cousin Bree suddenly started asking questions about my business finances, like how my former best friend Tanner stopped returning my calls right around the time Jennifer started working late at the fitness studio. The phone buzzed again. Through the kitchen doorway, I could see the preview text from Jennifer's Aunt Noelle. Phase 2 tomorrow. Remember, we need documentation of his temper for the lawyer. My coffee mug stopped halfway to my lips. Documentation of my temper? I haven't raised my voice in this house since our neighbor's dog got loose 2 years ago. I walked to the counter, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floor. Jennifer was upstairs, probably asleep, probably dreaming about whatever future she was planning without me. The phone screen was still glowing. One swipe, and I'd know exactly what Operation Freedom meant. The ethical part of my brain whispered that I shouldn't invade her privacy. The practical part reminded me that she'd been leaving her phone unlocked for weeks, almost like she wanted me to find something. The suspicious part noted that people don't name group chats Operation Freedom unless they're planning to liberate themselves from something. Or someone. I swiped up. No passcode. The messages loaded, and my perfectly ordered world tilted sideways. Uncle Vernon. Cedric's business account shows $340K liquid. Plus the house equity, we're looking at $600K minimum split. Bree. Tanner says he's willing to testify about Cedric's controlling behavior if needed. Jennifer. Good. I've been documenting everything. His sarcasm, the way he corrects people, how he isolates me from family events. Aunt Noelle. Smart girl. My lawyer friend says emotional manipulation counts as grounds. Plus, if we can prove he's hiding assets. I scrolled up. The conversation started 3 months ago, right after Jennifer's birthday party when I'd made a joke about her family's tendency to discuss everyone's finances like a public audit. Apparently, that joke had been the catalyst for what they were calling the Great Escape Plan. Tanner. He always thought he was smarter than everyone. Time to prove him wrong. Jennifer. The separation papers are ready. I'll serve them Thursday when he's distracted with the Morrison project deadline. Thursday. That was tomorrow. Today, technically, since it was past midnight. I kept scrolling, taking screenshots with my own phone. 3 months of planning. 3 months of my wife, her family, and my former best friend conspiring to ambush me with divorce papers, false accusations, and a grab for assets I'd spent 15 years building. Uncle Vernon. Remember, the key is making him react emotionally. Angry men make mistakes in court. Bree. What if he doesn't get angry? Cedric's pretty controlled. Aunt Noelle. Everyone has a breaking point. We just need to find his. Jennifer. Leave that to me. I know exactly which buttons to push. I set her phone back down, careful to position it exactly as she'd left it. My hands weren't shaking, which surprised me. My pulse was steady. The rage I expected to feel was there, but it was cold and calculating rather than hot and destructive. They wanted to see my breaking point. They wanted to document my temper. I walked back to my office, opened my laptop, and began typing. Not code this time, but a different kind of program. A systematic dismantling of their little operation. First, I logged into our joint accounts and transferred everything to my business account, leaving exactly $11.24 in checking. A fitting sum for the respect I'd been receiving lately. Then I called my lawyer's emergency line. David Chen had handled my business contracts for years, and he owed me a favor from when I'd saved his firm from a ransomware attack. Cedric, it's 2:30 in the morning. I need an emergency consultation. My wife is planning to serve me divorce papers today, and I have evidence of conspiracy to defraud. Forward me everything. I'll meet you at the office at 7. Next, I accessed the deed records online and transferred the house title into my business trust, a legal entity Jennifer had never bothered to understand. The house we'd bought together was now officially Fallon Consulting Property, with me as sole trustee. By 4 a.m., I documented everything, secured all assets, and prepared what I like to call the nuclear option. Screenshots of their entire conspiracy, financial records showing my legitimate ownership of disputed assets, and a timeline proving Jennifer had been planning this betrayal while pretending to be a loving wife. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I made breakfast at 6 a.m., humming while I scrambled eggs. Jennifer came downstairs at 6:30, dressed in her favorite yoga outfit, the one she wore when she wanted to look innocent and vulnerable. "You're up early," she said, avoiding eye contact. "Big day ahead," I replied, sliding a plate across the counter. "Eggs?" She shook her head. "Just coffee. I have that early class at the studio." "With Tanner?" Her face went pale. "What?" "Your trainer friend Tanner. Doesn't he teach the morning sessions?" "Oh, yes, sometimes." She grabbed her coffee mug with both hands, probably to stop them from trembling. I smiled. "Tell him I said hello." She left 20 minutes later, and I knew she was heading straight to Aunt Noelle's house for the final strategy session. They'd be so excited, thinking their plan was about to unfold perfectly. At 7 a.m. sharp, I was in David's office laying out the evidence. "This is extensive," he said, scrolling through the screenshots. "Conspiracy to commit fraud, potential perjury if they file false domestic violence claims, and clear evidence of adultery." "What are my options?" "Well, you've already protected your assets legally. The house transfer is solid since it was purchased with business funds originally. But Cedric, are you sure you want to go nuclear on this?" I thought about Jennifer's message. I know exactly which buttons to push. I thought about Tanner's betrayal, Uncle Vernon's greed, and 3 months of my wife pretending to love me while planning my destruction. "David, they're not just trying to divorce me. They're trying to destroy me financially and socially. They want to paint me as an abusive, controlling husband who hides assets from his poor, innocent wife." "And you want to what? Exactly?" "I want to give them exactly what they're planning to give me. Complete humiliation, financial ruin, and social exile. But legally." David grinned. It wasn't a nice expression. "Oh, now you're speaking my language." I was waiting in my living room at 3 p.m. when they arrived. Through the window, I watched Jennifer park her sedan behind Uncle Vernon's Mercedes. Aunt Noelle climbed out of the passenger seat, clutching a manila envelope. Bree emerged from the back, looking nervous. They'd brought reinforcements. The doorbell rang twice, sharp and aggressive. I opened it with a smile. "Jennifer, what a surprise. And you brought the whole family." Uncle Vernon pushed past me without invitation. "We need to talk, Cedric." "Of course. Please come in. Make yourselves comfortable." They arranged themselves in my living room like a tribunal. Jennifer sat on the edge of the sofa, the manila envelope in her lap. Uncle Vernon stood behind her, trying to look intimidating in his expensive suit. Aunt Noelle positioned herself near the fireplace, probably thinking it gave her a psychological advantage. Bree hovered by the door, clearly wishing she were anywhere else. "Cedric," Jennifer began, her voice shaking slightly, "I think we need some time apart." "Really? That's interesting timing." Uncle Vernon stepped forward. "Jennifer has been documenting your controlling behavior for months. The way you isolate her from family, monitor her spending, make her feel small with your constant sarcasm." I nodded thoughtfully. "Documenting? That's a strong word. Almost like you were building a legal case." Jennifer's face flushed. "I just want a fair separation. 50-50 split of assets, temporary support while I figure out my next steps. 50-50. I walked to the mantelpiece and picked up a framed document I'd placed there that morning. "That's fascinating, considering this." I handed Uncle Vernon the deed to the house. His face went through several interesting color changes as he read it. "This house is owned by Fallon Consulting, LLC," I continued. "A business entity I established 5 years ago using my personal funds. Jennifer, you remember signing the papers when we refinanced? You agreed to the business ownership structure for tax purposes." "You can't just—" Uncle Vernon started. "Actually, I can. And I did. This morning, in fact, right after I discovered your little group chat." The silence was beautiful. Jennifer's face went white. Aunt Noelle's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Bree actually took a step toward the door. "You went through my phone?" Jennifer whispered. "You left it unlocked on the kitchen counter. Operation Freedom is a catchy name, by the way. Very dramatic." Uncle Vernon tried to recover. "Even if you saw some messages you can't prove." I pulled out my own phone and started reading. Quote, "Cedric's business account shows $340K liquid, plus the house equity. We're looking at $600K minimum split." "That was you, Vernon. Should I continue?" Aunt Noelle found her voice. "You're taking this out of context." "Am I? How about this one?" "Tanner says he's willing to testify about Cedric's controlling behavior if needed." Or this gem from Jennifer. I know exactly which buttons to push. Jennifer stood up abruptly. "You don't understand. You've been impossible to live with, always making me feel stupid, always acting superior. When have I ever called you stupid? You don't have to say it. It's in your tone, your facial expressions, the way you explain things like I'm a child. You mean like how I explained our refinancing paperwork? The paperwork you didn't want to read because financial stuff is boring? Uncle Vernon stepped between us. This is exactly the kind of emotional manipulation we're talking about. I laughed. Actually laughed. Vernon, you're a lawyer. You know what emotional manipulation looks like in court? It looks like 3 months of secretly planning to destroy someone's life while pretending to love them. It looks like coordinating false testimony with the target's former best friend. It looks like Operation Freedom. Bree finally spoke up. Cedric, we just thought... You thought what, Bree? That I was too stupid to notice? Too trusting to protect myself? Jennifer was crying now, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage and frustration. You think you're so smart. You think you've won something. I think I've prevented you from committing fraud. There's a difference. I walked to the kitchen and returned with a printout. Bank statement from our joint account as of this morning. Balance, 11/24. Everything else has been transferred to accounts you never bothered to learn about. Uncle Vernon grabbed the paper. You can't hide assets in a divorce proceeding. I'm not hiding anything. Every transfer is documented and legal. The money came from my business income, deposited into business accounts. Jennifer never contributed to those funds because she never wanted to be involved in the business side of our lives. The court will see right through this, Aunt Noel said. Will they? Because I also have documented proof that Jennifer has been having an affair with Tanner Morrison for the past 4 months. Adultery tends to affect asset distribution in Massachusetts. Jennifer's tears stopped abruptly. How did you... Hotel receipts, Jennifer. Tanner used his credit card, and he's still on my gym membership family plan. Every transaction gets emailed to me. The room went silent again. I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, counting down the seconds until their perfect plan completely collapsed. Uncle Vernon cleared his throat. Even so, you're still married. She's entitled to whatever a judge decides after reviewing evidence of conspiracy, adultery, and attempted fraud. My lawyer is very optimistic about my chances. I sat down in my favorite chair, completely relaxed. Here's what's going to happen. Jennifer, you're going to take your separation papers and leave. All of you are going to leave. And if I hear even a whisper of false domestic violence claims or asset hiding accusations, I'll release every screenshot from Operation Freedom to everyone in your social circles. You wouldn't, Aunt Noel breathed. Try me. Jennifer stood up, shaking with rage. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Your operation failed before it started. Next time you want to destroy someone's life, maybe don't document the entire conspiracy in writing. They filed out without another word. Uncle Vernon tried to maintain some dignity, but his expensive suit couldn't hide the defeat in his shoulders. Aunt Noel whispered furiously to Jennifer as they walked to the car. Bree looked back once, and I thought I saw something like respect in her expression. After they left, I poured myself a scotch and sat on my porch. The neighborhood was quiet, peaceful. Mrs. Patterson next door waved from her garden, and I waved back. She had no idea that World War III had just ended in my living room. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Bree. Can we talk? Interesting. The first crack in their united front. I typed back, tomorrow, coffee shop on Main Street, 10 a.m. Her response came immediately. Thank you. I sipped my scotch and watched the sun set over my neighborhood. My neighborhood in my house, surrounded by my assets that I'd legally and properly protected. Jennifer and her family had spent 3 months planning my destruction. They'd forgotten one crucial detail. I'm very good at finding vulnerabilities in systems, and their little conspiracy had more holes than a government firewall. Bree was already waiting when I arrived at the coffee shop, hunched over a large latte and looking like she hadn't slept. Her usual Instagram-perfect appearance was replaced by dark circles under her eyes and hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. You look terrible, I said, sliding into the seat across from her. Thanks. That's exactly what every woman wants to hear. I signaled the waitress for coffee. Why did you want to meet? Bree stared into her cup. Because I'm scared. Of me? Of what happens next. Uncle Vernon is furious. He's talking about hiring investigators, finding ways to prove you coerced Jennifer into signing documents she didn't understand. And you think that's a problem for me because... She looked up, and I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Because I know things about the family, about why Vernon was so interested in your assets. I'm listening. He's been embezzling from his law firm's client trust fund. Small amounts over 2 years, but it adds up. He needed Jennifer's divorce settlement to cover the shortfall before the annual audit. I set down my coffee cup. How do you know this? Because he asked me to help launder the money through my social media business. Fake sponsorship deals, inflated consulting fees. I said no, but he kept pressuring me. This was better than I'd hoped. Do you have proof? Screenshots of his requests, bank records showing the discrepancies. I've been documenting everything because I was afraid he'd try to frame me if he got caught. Why are you telling me this? Bree laughed bitterly. Because yesterday I realized I was helping him destroy an innocent person to cover his own crimes. You might be sarcastic and arrogant, but you never stole money from widows and orphans. That's the nicest thing anyone said about me in months. Don't let it go to your head. She pulled out her phone. I can send you everything I have on Vernon. In exchange, I want protection when this all comes out. What kind of protection? A statement that I cooperated with you voluntarily. Something that shows I tried to stop the conspiracy once I knew the real reason behind it. I studied her face. Bree had always been the smartest of Jennifer's cousins, the one who built a successful business from nothing while the others lived off family money. If she was willing to flip on Vernon, the situation was worse than I'd thought. Send me the files. I'll have my lawyer draw up a cooperation agreement. Her fingers moved quickly across her phone screen. Done. Cedric, there's something else you should know. Tanner isn't just sleeping with Jennifer. He's been feeding Vernon information about your business finances for months. What kind of information? Client lists, project values, payment schedules. Everything he could get from Jennifer's casual conversations about your work. My jaw tightened. Industrial espionage. Vernon was planning to use it as leverage if the divorce got messy. Threatened to expose client confidentialities unless you agreed to a bigger settlement. I pulled out my own phone and started typing. Bree, you just graduated from cooperative witness to star witness. What are you doing? Texting my lawyer. This changes everything. My phone rang before I could finish the message. David's name appeared on the screen. Cedric, we have a problem. Jennifer filed an emergency restraining order this morning. Claims you threatened her and her family yesterday. That's impossible. I have witnesses. She has a recording. My stomach dropped. What kind of recording? Audio from yesterday's confrontation. You can be heard saying, quote, "Try me," in response to someone asking if you'd really destroy their social lives. I looked at Bree, who had gone pale. She was recording the whole time? Apparently. The judge granted a temporary order. You can't go within 500 feet of Jennifer, her workplace, or any family members. Including Bree? Who's Bree? Her cousin. She's sitting across from me right now, voluntarily providing evidence of Vernon's embezzlement. Silence on the phone. Then, are you recording this conversation? No, but I can start. Do it. Bree, if you're listening, I need you to state clearly that you're meeting with Cedric voluntarily and that you don't feel threatened. Bree leaned toward the phone. This is Bree Corlin. I asked Cedric to meet me here because I have information about my uncle's criminal activities. I don't feel threatened, and I want to cooperate with his legal defense. Perfect. Cedric, bring her to my office immediately. We need to get her statement documented before Vernon realizes she's flipped. I ended the call and looked at Bree. Ready to burn some bridges? They burned first. We stood to leave, but Bree grabbed my arm. Cedric, there's one more thing. Jennifer's recording from yesterday, it's edited. She cut out the parts where Vernon admitted to planning the conspiracy. How do you know? Because I was there, and because I recorded the whole thing too. I stared at her. You recorded your own family planning to commit fraud. I told you. I was scared. I've been recording everything for weeks. Bree, you beautiful, paranoid genius. Do you realize what this means? That Jennifer just committed perjury by submitting edited evidence to a court? Among other things, yes. We walked out of the coffee shop together, and I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Optimism. Jennifer and Vernon thought they were playing chess while I was playing checkers. They were about to discover that I'd been playing an entirely different game. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you're smart, but this is just the beginning. T. Tanner. My former best friend was apparently ready to escalate things. I showed the text to Bree. Is this a threat? Probably. Tanner's been getting desperate. Vernon promised him money if the divorce went through. How much money? $50,000. Payment for his testimony and for keeping Jennifer distracted while they planned everything. I took a screenshot of Tanner's text and forwarded it to David. Then I typed a response. Tanner, I'm forwarding this threat to my lawyer and the police. If you want to discuss something, do it through legal channels. His reply came instantly. Legal channels? You destroyed my relationship with Jennifer. You humiliated her family. You think there won't be consequences. Another screenshot. Another forward to David. Tanner was building my case for me with every message. Bree, how well do you know Tanner? Well enough to know he's stupid when he's angry. Why? Because he's about to do something that's going to make our lives much easier. Tanner made his move 3 days later, and it was even dumber than I'd expected. I was working late in my home office when the security system chimed. Someone was in my backyard, moving around the side of the house toward the front door. The motion-activated cameras I'd installed after the restraining order gave me a clear view. Tanner Morrison, dressed in dark clothes, carrying what looked like a crowbar. My former best friend was apparently planning to break into my house. I activated the silent alarm that would alert the police, then opened the intercom system I'd connected to the outdoor speakers. Evening, Tanner. Nice crowbar. He froze on the front walkway, looking around wildly for the camera. Motion sensors, buddy. Same technology I recommended for your apartment 2 years ago. Remember that conversation? He spotted the camera mounted under the eaves and glared directly into it. Open the door, Cedric. We need to talk. We can talk right now. You're on camera, I'm recording audio, and the police are about 3 minutes out. What did you want to discuss? You destroyed everything, he shouted. Jennifer's devastated. Her family is falling apart, and it's all because you couldn't handle being left for a better man. A better man who breaks into houses with crowbars? You think you're so clever, hiding behind lawyers and technicalities, but you can't hide forever. I leaned back in my office chair, watching him pace on my front lawn like a caged animal. Tanner, help me understand something. You've been sleeping with my wife for 4 months, conspiring with her family to defraud me, and now you're attempting to break into my home. At what point in this process did you think you were the good guy? She was miserable with you. You made her feel worthless. So you decided to help her commit felony fraud? That's your definition of rescue? Red and blue lights appeared at the end of my street. Tanner saw them too and started backing toward my neighbor's yard. Don't run, Tanner. It'll just make things worse. But he ran anyway, vaulting over Mrs. Patterson's fence with the crowbar still in his hand. The police cruiser accelerated, and a second unit appeared from the opposite direction. I walked outside to meet the officers, my phone still recording. Officers, I'm Cedric Fallon. I called about the attempted break-in. The lead officer, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes, looked at the crowbar marks on my front door. Where's the suspect now? He ran toward Maple Street when he saw your lights. Tall guy, dark hair, wearing black jeans and a navy hoodie. His name is Tanner Morrison. You know him? He's been having an affair with my wife. This is probably related to our ongoing divorce proceedings. She made notes while her partner called in Tanner's description. We'll need copies of your security footage. Already prepared. I handed her a USB drive. Everything from the past hour, plus his threatening text messages from earlier this week. Threatening texts? I showed her the screenshots on my phone. Her expression hardened as she read them. Mr. Fallon, has this individual made any other attempts to contact or intimidate you? Not directly, but he's been coordinating with my wife's family to make false accusations against me. I can provide documentation if needed. The radio crackled. They'd found Tanner hiding behind a dumpster 3 blocks away, still carrying the crowbar. 20 minutes later, I watched through my front window as they loaded him into the back of a police cruiser. His face was a mask of rage and humiliation, but his eyes found mine through the glass. The look he gave me promised that this wasn't over. My phone rang. David's number. Cedric, I just got a call from the prosecutor's office. They're charging Tanner with attempted burglary and criminal threatening. Good. It gets better. Jennifer tried to post his bail an hour ago, but she doesn't have access to enough cash. Apparently, someone cleaned out all her accounts. Imagine that. The prosecutor wants to know if you'll testify about the conspiracy angle. With Bree's evidence about Vernon's embezzlement and now Tanner's attempted break-in, they're looking at a much bigger case. What kind of bigger case? Organized fraud, conspiracy to commit extortion, possibly RICO charges if they can prove Vernon was using his law practice as a criminal enterprise. I sat down heavily. RICO? That's federal. That's what happens when lawyers start stealing client money to fund family conspiracies. The FBI gets interested. What about Jennifer? That depends on how much she knew about Vernon's embezzlement. If she was just a pawn in his scheme, she might get a plea deal. If she was actively participating, she's going to prison. Probably. Cedric, I have to ask, are you prepared for this to get very ugly, very publicly? I thought about Jennifer's face when she realized I'd discovered their plan. I thought about Vernon's greed and Tanner's betrayal. I thought about 3 months of lies and manipulation while they planned my destruction. David, they wanted to destroy my life to cover up crimes I didn't even know about. They used my marriage as a smokescreen for embezzlement. They turned my best friend into a criminal. So, that's a yes? That's a hell yes. After I hung up, I poured myself a scotch and sat on my front porch. Mrs. Patterson came over from next door, carrying a plate of cookies. "Exciting evening," she said. "Sorry about the commotion." "Don't be sorry. That young man trampled my roses when he jumped the fence. I hope they throw the book at him." She handed me the cookies and patted my shoulder. "Your wife never deserved you, dear. We all knew she was trouble." "You did?" "Honey, the whole neighborhood knew. The way she talked about you at the block parties, always making little cutting remarks, and that fancy car she bought last month. We all wondered where the money came from." "What fancy car?" Mrs. Patterson looked surprised. "The red convertible. She's been parking it at that Morrison Boys apartment complex. I assumed you knew." I didn't know, but I was definitely going to find out. The red convertible was a BMW, brand new, parked in Tanner's assigned space at his luxury apartment complex. I took photos from every angle, including the temporary registration in the window. Then I called David. "Run the VIN number on this car," I said, texting him the photos. "I want to know how it was purchased and who's making the payments." His response came an hour later. "Bought with a cashier's check from Vernon's client trust account. Registration shows Jennifer as the owner, but the insurance is billed to Vernon's law firm. He bought my wife a car with stolen money and put it in her name to hide the transaction from his firm's accounting. Cedric, this is the smoking gun we needed. Jennifer can't claim ignorance about Vernon's embezzlement if she's driving around in a car he bought with stolen funds." I was photographing the car's interior when my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. "Hello?" "Cedric, it's Bree. Something's happening. Vernon called an emergency family meeting at his house. Everyone's supposed to be there in an hour." "Including Jennifer?" "Especially Jennifer. He's panicking about Tanner's arrest. I think he's going to try to pin everything on her." "Where are you now?" "Parked outside Vernon's house. Cedric, I'm scared. If he throws Jennifer under the bus, he'll do the same to me. Stay in your car. Don't go inside. I'm calling David." But when I tried to reach my lawyer, his phone went straight to voicemail. I tried his office line, his emergency number, even his secretary. Nothing. Bree called back. "They're all here. Jennifer, Aunt Noelle, even some cousins I haven't seen in years. This isn't just a family meeting. It's something bigger." "Get out of there, Bree. Drive to the police station." "I can't. Vernon just came outside. He's walking toward my car." The line went quiet. Then I heard Vernon's voice, muffled but audible. "Bree, honey, come inside. We need to discuss your recent conversations with certain people." "I don't know what you mean, Uncle Vernon." "Of course you do. Now come inside before this gets unpleasant." The call ended abruptly. I was 20 minutes from Vernon's house, but I couldn't go there myself without violating the restraining order. Instead, I called 911. "911, what's your emergency?" "I need to report a possible kidnapping in progress. A woman named Bree Corlin was just forced into a house against her will by someone who's under federal investigation for embezzlement. Sir, can you verify your location and the location of the alleged incident?" I gave them Vernon's address and explained the situation as quickly as possible. The dispatcher promised to send units immediately, but I knew it might not be fast enough. My phone rang. Jennifer's number. "Cedric, we have your little spy. Put Bree on the phone. She's fine, for now, but we need to discuss terms." "What terms?" "You're going to withdraw all charges against Tanner. You're going to tell the FBI that you made up the embezzlement story. And you're going to agree to a fair divorce settlement." "Or what?" "Or Bree has an unfortunate accident. Falls down some stairs, maybe. Hits her head. These old houses can be dangerous." I was already in my car, driving toward Vernon's house despite the restraining order. "Jennifer, listen to me very carefully. The police are already on their way. If you hurt Bree, you'll be looking at kidnapping and assault charges on top of everything else." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" "Check outside." Silence. Then Vernon's voice. "There are no police cars here. Give them 5 minutes." I heard arguing in the background. Aunt Noelle's voice. "This is insane, Vernon. We need to let her go. We need to fix this mess before it destroys all of us." "By committing more crimes?" "By showing Cedric that we're serious." I pulled into Vernon's driveway just as the first police cruiser arrived from the opposite direction. 2 officers got out, hands near their weapons. "Mr. Fallon, you called about a kidnapping?" "The woman being held is named Bree Corlin. She's been cooperating with federal investigators, and the people inside that house just threatened to hurt her if I don't withdraw my testimony." The lead officer spoke into his radio, calling for backup. "Sir, there's a restraining order that prevents you from being here." "I know. Arrest me if you have to, but get Bree out of that house first." More police cars arrived. Then an unmarked sedan that I recognized as David's car. He got out carrying a briefcase and wearing a grim expression. "The FBI is 10 minutes out," he told the officers. "This is now a federal crime scene." Through Vernon's front window, I could see figures moving around frantically. Someone was shouting, but I couldn't make out the words. The front door opened, and Aunt Noelle stumbled out with her hands raised. "Don't shoot! I'm coming out voluntarily." She walked toward the police cars, crying. "This is crazy. Vernon's lost his mind. He's got that poor girl locked in the basement." "How many people are still inside?" the lead officer asked. "Vernon, Jennifer, and 2 of my nephews, plus the girl. Are any of them armed?" "I don't think so, but Vernon keeps talking about not going to prison. He's not thinking clearly." The officer turned to me. "Mr. Fallon, I need you to back your car out of the driveway and wait across the street." I was about to comply when the front door opened again. Vernon appeared, dragging Bree by the arm. She looked terrified, but unharmed. "I want to talk to Cedric," Vernon shouted, "face to face." "Sir, release the woman and come out with your hands visible." "Not until I talk to the man who's destroying my family." David grabbed my arm. "Don't even think about it." But I was already walking toward the house. The police shouted at me to stop, but I kept moving. "Vernon, let her go. Your problem is with me, not her." "My problem is that you couldn't just take your divorce like a man. You had to dig into things that weren't your business." "You mean like the money you stole from your clients?" "I borrowed that money. I was going to pay it back after Jennifer's settlement. With funds you planned to steal from me." He pushed Bree toward me, and she stumbled into my arms. "There, she's fine. Now call off the FBI." "I can't do that, Vernon. You've committed federal crimes." "Because of you. All of this is because you couldn't let Jennifer go." "No, all of this is because you're a thief who used his family to cover his crimes." Jennifer appeared in the doorway behind him, her face streaked with tears. "Cedric, please, we can fix this. We can work something out." "Jennifer, it's over. The FBI has everything. The embezzlement, the conspiracy, the fake evidence you submitted to the court. There's no working this out." "But I love you," she whispered. I stared at her. This woman I'd been married to for 8 years, who had spent 3 months planning my destruction while telling me she loved me every night. "No, you don't. You love the idea of not going to prison." Vernon suddenly lunged forward, but the police were ready. They tackled him to the ground, handcuffs appearing with practiced efficiency. Jennifer collapsed to her knees, sobbing. The FBI arrived as they were loading Vernon into a police car. Agent Sarah Martinez introduced herself and immediately took control of the scene. "Mr. Fallon, we'll need your full statement, but first I want to thank you. Vernon Corlin has been stealing from client trust funds for 3 years. We've been building a case, but your evidence accelerated everything. What happens now?" "Vernon's looking at 20 years federal time. Your wife will probably get 5 to 10, depending on her cooperation. The boyfriend already made a deal to testify against both of them." Tanner flipped. The moment he realized he was looking at RICO charges. Apparently loyalty isn't his strong suit. I looked at Jennifer, now sitting in the back of a police car, staring at me through the window. Her expression wasn't angry anymore. It was empty, defeated. "Agent Martinez, what about the restraining order?" "Withdrawn. Hard to claim you're a threat when you just helped rescue a kidnapping victim." Bree appeared at my elbow. "Cedric, I owe you everything." "You don't owe me anything. You did the right thing." "Even though it destroyed your marriage?" I watched the police cars drive away, taking Jennifer and Vernon toward a future they'd never imagined when they started Operation Freedom. "Bree, my marriage was destroyed the moment Jennifer decided I was worth more to her in pieces than whole. Everything after that was just cleanup." David walked over, grinning. "Well, that's one way to end a divorce case." "Is it over?" "The criminal part is just beginning." "But the divorce?" "Oh yes, that's very over. Jennifer will be lucky to get supervised visitation with her freedom, let alone half your assets." I stood in Vernon's driveway, watching the sun set over the suburbs where I'd thought I was building a life with someone who loved me. The house behind me was empty now, crime scene tape fluttering in the evening breeze. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Patterson. "Saw the news. Proud of you, dear. Come over for dinner when you're ready." I smiled and typed back, "Thank you. I'll bring wine." Some operations succeed exactly as planned. Others fail spectacularly, taking down everyone involved. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, The people trying to destroy you hand you all the tools you need to destroy them instead. I walked to my car, leaving the wreckage of Operation Freedom behind me. Tomorrow, I'd start building something new. Tonight, I was going to have dinner with a neighbor who'd known all along that I deserved better.